Welcome to growthtofreedom.com, the show that brings you inspiration, transformation, and leadership. We're helping you connect the dots, see the blind spots, and get unstuck so you can go out and generate more leads, more sales, more profits. More importantly, so you can go out and have a bigger reach, a bigger impact, and make a bigger contribution.
I'd like to introduce you to a concept of how to solve your biggest problems anytime, anywhere, anyplace. Anybody be interested in that? And it's not what you think. What we're going to cover is a new way to think about solving problems, partially because of our education, partially because of our education system. We have a tendency, I'll speak about myself, is I've taken the long route to solve a lot of problems in my business. I don't know if anybody here has ever felt like you were the lone wolf or a lone ranger, right? Or sometimes if I want something fixed, it's better to fix it myself. That type of thing. I'd like to share a quick story with you because at the end of the day, not only for myself, but I'm going to introduce you to 6 rebels and misfits and other entrepreneurs that maybe you didn't know who are using this same method to solve some of their greatest problems, some of their greatest challenges, dating all the way back in history. Because what would happen for you if you could solve problems at a faster rate? Whether it's a hiring problem, a staff problem, in the circle, you got a little glimpse of this with each other in the small group exercise, right? How many got a lot out of that exercise, by the way, right? How great was it to be able to hear insights and wisdom from your peers, right? Did you get some great advice, right? See, you can solve problems, if it takes 3 weeks to solve a problem, or you can make one phone call and solve it in 5 minutes. What's that worth to you? You don't have to go figure it out on your own, but it takes a different way of being able to think about it. I'm going to prove that here over the next few minutes, but why is this important? Anybody ever hit that spot in your business? We kind of felt like you were at rock bottom. I have a story where it's probably a little different than you think. I want you to imagine, building a business that you're excited about, you're proud of. It started out of your house, you grew it, and it became 30 people, then it became 60 people, then it became 100 people, then it became a couple of them, then it became 200 employees. You were doing some big things. You had like 2,000 clients a week that you were building, right? It was amazing. And then one of your dreams was, because you realized at the beginning, maybe I should begin with the end in mind. Anybody ever heard that from Stephen Covey? Brilliant guy, Stephen, begin with the end in mind. Even if you never plan on selling your business, begin with the end in mind with the idea you might sell it one day. But I got excited about the idea of selling it. And then I started talking to a couple of people. You ever thought about selling your business? And so I set the stage. And I decided, oh my gosh, I'm going to go sell my business. And it was a process, and that was interesting. That's a whole different, crazy set of problems that anybody here ever sold a company before? Right? A whole different set of problems. It's fascinating. But then that day came. We signed it. The deal was done. And I had an exit, and a pretty substantial one at that. Now, how many of you sold a big company? You had 200 employees. You were doing $25 million a year, $100 million over a handful of years. You'd be pretty damn excited. How many would be excited? I was excited for about 3 weeks. And then something happened. I share this because it's a little different than you might think. After about 3 or 4 weeks, I went into a massive state of depression. This isn't something I talk about a lot, openly, up until the last 6 months. But I hit a massive state of depression. And then what happened is, because I've had a tendency over my lifetime to be the lone wolf, the lone ranger, take on things myself, instead of reaching out to people, anybody want to guess what I did? I tried dealing with it on my own. Why? I had insecurity around it. I was like, man, this should be so damn awesome. But why do I feel this way? Why do I feel empty? Why do I feel like something's missing? Why do I feel like it's not working? Am I the only one? I felt like I was the only one feeling this. So I didn't want to go to my peers. I had all these successful people I've been fortunate to build friendships with. The thought of reaching out to them, I was like, I don't want to reach out. I should be at the highest point of my life, and I'm feeling miserable. And I don't know if you can relate to this at all. But whether it's this, I also realize now looking, this is a habit. This is a pattern. In my history of building businesses, in the early years, I would take things on my own. I would go, let me solve this problem. And I'd almost get a lot of joy out of being the fire hat person, running into fires and saving the day, 911, and my team would be excited. Oh, Dan's here to save the day. Anybody have a business like that where maybe you're that person? This idea that we're going to talk about, I hope, is a new way for you to think about it. But again, it does go against traditional education. Many of you invested, $500,000 in your education and plus your experience in building your business. So write this down. I forget. I think I learned this from a guy named Peter Diamandis, who I've had a good fortune to work with a bit. Peter says that the unlearning is more important than the learning. Kind of ties into an idea that it isn't practice that makes perfect. It's perfect practice that makes perfect. So the unlearning is more important than the learning. So part of this is going to be a little bit of a warp shift. I'll just warn you, this is still not easy for me today. It's this process that I'm going to share with you, this idea of the number one way to solve a problem. Now, we did some research before this event with about a dozen different sources, a couple like Modern Medicine Network, Medical Economics. Here's what we found are the top issues for practices. I don't know if you're facing some of these, but as you're looking at some of the issues that are common in your field, admin issues and bookkeeping. How many are dealing with that? Just out of curiosity. How about avoiding burnout? Like you're wearing too many hats. Difficulty with EHR, which is like a dirty little secret. Getting new patients, insurance issues, claims, hiring, wearing too many hats. Right? These are some of the top issues. And worse, there's 6 reasons in this research that we did that practices fail. Number 1, making the shift from a doctor to being actually wearing a hat of a business owner. Huge distinction that they talked about. Number 2 is lack of patience, marketing your business. Now, as I was going around in the exercise that Dr. Scott led here just a few minutes ago, that seemed to be a common theme, like my marketing or social media or the difference between social media and social advertising, right? And solving that problem. So I want to play this short video in a second. Let me back up. I went too fast, which I do sometimes. Number 3 is lack of delegation, wearing too many hats, right? How many are that type that are kind of the lone wolf, lone ranger? You come in to save the day, put your fire chief hat on, okay? So this is going to be a little bit of a mind warp, a little bit of a mind shift that you go through. Number 4 is lack of an effective marketing and business plan, right? So tying in, check this short video out about how a lot of people have seemed to operate their market. I know in the first decade, I've been at this for almost 3 decades. Started my first business all the way back in 1992 before the internet stuff, became a sensation. And I got fascinated by psychology. Anybody here fascinated by human behavior? Like I feel like if I had to describe like my background, really, it's studying human behavior. Like, why do people do the crazy shit they do? And why do they not do the shit that they do? Right? That's fascinating, that whole idea in and of itself. And so my sister got me a job working in a direct mail company all the way back in the late 80s. And I got to, we were doing direct mail campaigns and we were running radio and TV ads. And we'd put out a 60-second spot and we'd have hundreds of phone calls. The phone would ring off the hook by what people said, and then we'd run some ads and we'd get like 0. What was the difference? Our direct mail campaigns. And it's what Dr. Scott has been sharing with you, the triangle. Ingrain that triangle in your mind and in your business. Whether you ultimately work with Dr. Scott long term or not, it's market, it's message, it's media. It's market, message, media. So you can have the right message going to the wrong market. What are you going to get? Donut, crickets, right? But you might beat yourself up if you're anything like me, be really hard on yourself and go, God, what the hell? I suck. That's how I used to be. And then I'd go deeper in trying to let me go figure this out. And I would lengthen the time it would take instead of shortening it. So this process is going to teach you how to shorten it so you can have a bigger impact, a bigger reach, a bigger contribution in your marketplace. So check out this idea and see if maybe you could relate to this just a little bit. I find this a little bit humorous in how to look at marketing.
In a month. Great work, everyone. Launch means marketing, though, and marketing means content. We need something that's like punchy and shareable and does well on social. Who was the customer again?
Millennials.
That's right. They're so great. Okay, so let's hear your ideas. What do you got?
Nice.
Okay, wait, I have something much better.
Oh, nice. I like it. But can we make it go viral? Let's check in with the social media managers.
Oh my god, look at this tiny hamster eat a tiny burrito.
Oh my god, it's so tiny.
I'm so dead.
That's not good enough. It's ideation time.
Siri, what does on fleek mean?
Tell us what our customer wants. Concentrate harder.
Wait, guys. You know we haven't tried yet?
Come on! You can do it, Over the clutch!
Come on, Pink Social.
What's up with marketing? I think this is just how they brainstorm. Seems labor intensive. Yep.
Anybody ever felt like your marketing is like that? Just throwing it on a wall? I'm guilty. I'm way guilty of that. Instead of using the science, instead of using the numbers, the data to make decisions. You know, one of the things about working with Scott's team, Dr. Scott's team, is it's data-driven. Let the data help you make the decision. It's there for you if you take the time to be able to use it. So, next is lack of effective follow-up. Dr. Scott had talked about this a little bit, right? Again, 6 reasons that most practice lack of follow-up, right? What would happen if you had better follow-up with your text messaging, your email, you know, things like doing a voice shot, which can deliver a voice message. One message can go to 100 of your patients, right? That you can stay in contact with them, and it's simple technology to be able to use overall. Next is lack of a great system for collecting payments. And a couple things that came up as we were circling around is like, how do I attract customers, and how do I create like billing options or financing options, right? Not having that, what does that cost a company, right? Or not making it simple. You know, one of Dr. Scott's key values, keep it simple. Here's a great line you might want to write down. My buddy Dean Graziosi, who I've been friends with for a couple decades, has this quote. He says, keep it so low, the goats can eat it. Keep it so low, the goats can eat it. In other words, you know, my dad had a version of this. He said, keep it simple, stupid, which is what he used to say to me all the time. Keep it simple, right? Keep it simple, KISS approach. Keep it so low, the goats can eat it. Right? So what would happen for your business if you could create financing options or billing options that made it so simple that it just made it a natural yes, right? Or made it risk-free. So keep that in mind. So everybody wrote down a version of a top struggle you're handling. Now, maybe you got that addressed. How many got their problem solved in that group discussion? Okay, awesome. If you did, write down a new one. What's another top issue or problem that you've got that you're facing right now? And if you didn't get it addressed, you can just use that one. But just write that down real quick. And as we go through this exercise, I want to share an example of how to solve this problem. Now, why is it important for you to solve this problem? Here's the key to think about. Why? You know, Tony Robbins, how many are Tony Robbins fans? How many are not Tony Robbins fans? How many don't know who Tony Robbins is, just out of curiosity? Okay, a couple people. So no big deal. But Tony Robbins has this belief system. He says, you know, if your why is big enough, you will find a way to solve it. It's a lever. You know, think of a lever. We got a big lever here. And if this is your problem, it's sitting here right in the middle of the room, this big elephant in the room that's sitting here. And we got a lever. We got a little lever, and we're trying to move that problem. That's a little why. We're not going to be able to move that problem out of the way, are we? How many have ever had problems like that where you thought they were a problem, but you took it casual, the why wasn't big enough, the emotional reason behind it wasn't, and it stayed a problem. How many have had that happen, right? When the lever is long enough, when your why is long enough, when it's big enough, you can move it. What's your why? So whatever that problem is, the first thing to identify is why is it important for you to solve this problem? Why is it important to solve it? Why? Does everybody have your why for whatever that problem is? Why do you feel that it's an absolute necessity? It's a must. When it becomes a must, and a have to, that's when you'll solve it. But so many of us, I know, and I'll speak about myself. For many years, I played small. Brendan Burchard, I don't know how many know who Brendan is, says, don't let your small business keep you small-minded. I took it casually, and it became a casualty of the problems that I faced in my business. I don't know if you've been there, right? So when your why's big enough, you can solve it. So the number one method to solve any problem. Before I get into the number one method, I want to share 5 benefits that you get when you solve the problem and use this method that we're going to talk about. So the number one is you're part of something. You're part of something where you have values in alignment. You have culture leading value. It's about contribution, collaboration, and giving and supporting. How many think that that would be a pretty cool thing to get a benefit for anything that you would want to do? Contribution, collaboration. See, right now, as you assess your business, your practice, your team, how collaborative is the environment you have set up as the leader of your team? How collaborative is it? Does your team feel like they're a peer to a degree working with you and can provide value and add value and can openly share and contribute to the betterment and growing the business? Many of you probably have team members that are brilliant if you gave them a chance to be more brilliant, right? And ideally, this idea, this shift that we're going to talk about here in a second, to shift from solving problems will give you a new way to include them in the process. So number 2, it gives you a sounding board to be your best self, right? The old idea that iron sharpens iron. Maybe when you haven't, or I first heard this from a buddy of mine, Joe Polish. He says that irritated oysters create pearls, right? So many, I'll speak about my culture in my early businesses. A couple of them tanked. In the early years, I was afraid of, conflict in the office. I don't know if anybody's been there. I was afraid of people, getting into like conflict with me or other managers in the business, and we would try at all costs to avoid it. But what we found is you can actually create a more healthy workplace by creating a healthy way to deal with conflict and address it and allow the irritated oysters to actually become pearls, right? Or iron sharpening iron, or coal turning into a diamond. Right? What would happen in your business if you were able to do that and create this culture around this way of solving problems? Number 3, it drives more than ideas. Right? Chances are, you're here, you don't need more ideas. You want probably deep in your soul to implement more, right? You want to implement more. You probably are the creative type, that has more ideas by 9 a.m. in the morning than most people do in a month. I don't know if you've ever felt that way. So it's not about just ideas, it's about bridging ideas and implementation, right? Ideas and implement. Anybody here, here's the other part. There's a difference in the quality of ideas, isn't there? Right? We talked about the not to-do list yesterday. We talked about the not now list yesterday. And we talked about the to-do list. But here's another way to think about your ideas. Even the ideas that you're coming up with here, and maybe you're making those notes and putting those needle movers in your notebook, right? They're different ratings. And here's a simple way to maybe look at rating them. They're gold ideas, silver ideas, and bronze ideas. Right? Gold ideas, silver ideas, and bronze ideas. See, if you focused on your gold ideas and you got rid of the silver ideas, what would happen for your business? Right? Chances are it would grow, would it not? Right? So keep that in mind. Gold, silver, and bronze. Number 4, this method we're going to talk about provides accountability. How many feel accountability is important? How many have patience? Let's go to a patient level first. How many of you have patience and you have a follow-up protocol and then they don't follow it and then they get pissed at you? Anybody deal with this? Right? It's no fun, right? God, if they just followed the plan, right? And you probably have some version of follow-up. We kind of hit on that one earlier, the importance of having follow-up in our model. Follow-up for accountability, or almost, what if you saw yourself as a coach? Not only for your team, but for your patients. And created that accountability for them to stay on track, to get on track, to keep on track, right? And also we're able to do that with your patients. Part of Dr. Scott's process that we hit on yesterday, why does he give this out to the people he works with? It's smart, yeah. Yeah, I would say big one. Is this a gold coin? It's damn heavy, too. It's a gold coin. But what is in here? It's a protocol for follow-up, right? And accountability and coaching that he's done something we learned from Gary Halbert. His name is Gary Halbert. He says, can and clone what you do. He's automated it. It's basically Dr. Scott in a box. How many would like Dr. Scott in a box? See, he's a little taller, but you can fit him in this box, right? Right? Think about that. So how about you in a box? Accountability for your team. Again, it starts. What's the number one asset probably in your business? I hope you'll maybe consider your team, because they can help free you up. They can get you out of the clinic. They can allow you to grow your clinic. You can bring in other docs as part of your team to be a part of your system, your process. You in a box, right? You in a box. Accountability. A coach. Now, speaking of coaching, I want to share this quick clip with you for a few reasons. There's a few levels that this video that I'm going to share with you will address. Number one, it's what would happen if you had more accountability. Like, how many of you realize that with accountability you perform better? Raise your hand real quick. You perform better. But how many of you in a business growth environment really have true nudging and accountability and coaching to take you to that next level, to put your feet in the fire, to call you out on your stuff? Right? See, if you don't have that, what's missing for you? What is it costing you? So as you watch this short video, which has nothing to do with medical practice, but has everything to do from a player level, but also a coach level. And I want you to look at this from two sets of eyes. One, you as a player, and what would happen for you having the accountability and the coaching every day in every way, holding your feet to the fire, and how it can help you get to the next level, and doing the impossible. Being unstoppable. How cool would that be? To be like that almost on a daily basis. And then on top of that is helping your team become unstoppable.
Thanks for listening to this episode of growthtofreedom.com. Are you struggling to get a steady flow of new clients every day? Or maybe hit a plateau or hit a wall in growing your business? Well, let's help you solve this problem today. Let's review your business and have a conversation. You can do that for free today at breakthroughstrategycall.com. That's breakthroughstrategycall.com. In addition, if you're looking for a simple way to implement some of what we've been talking about in today's episode, then I want to encourage you to get our free small business toolkit. You can get that at activate.breakthrough3x.com. That's activate.breakthrough3x.com. If you'd like access to the special resources and all the show notes for this special episode, make sure to visit growthtofreedom.com.